Hello everybody, my name is Nina
And I'm Nicolas.
and this is the
Immortality Cast.
We are both translators and enthusiasts of the rejuvenation area, and this is our podcast about longevity, rejuvenation, and immortality. And the idea is to make episodes in 3 languages: English, Spanish, and Portuguese. So today, Nicolas will tell me about a conference that he participated and update everybody who is listening and myself on everything that was discussed.
It was last Thursday, 2 days ago, in fact, in February 11, 2021. It was a conference organized by 2 entities, International Longevity Alliance and Heales. Heales is an entity based on Belgium, and International Longevity Alliance is an entity that congregates a lot of entities around the world that are related to the rejuvenation and longevity field. So it was an event in which experiments with rats and humans were discussed, and it was very interesting because some of the most important and relevant people in the whole rejuvenation field were involved. So nowadays there are no presential events practically.
You mean in-person events?
Yes, in-person events. So I'm Brazilian, so forgive me if I make some English mistakes.
So I didn't understand exactly. What was the theme of the conference?
Yes, in which extent experiment works on rats and humans.
To which extent?
Yeah, to which extent? I mean,
So it's about like when you are trying to develop a new therapy or a new drug, usually you test it on rats or mice before testing humans. So it was about discussing, because a lot of times if you test on rats or mice and then test on humans, it's not successful. The treatment, it's not as successful in humans as it is on rats or mice. So was it about this?
yes, but it's supposed to be about that. But I noticed that in fact, people usually present their work. I mean, obviously it's related to testing humans and testing in rats, and they make generally that discussion, but it's not that everybody focuses on that. I mean, the organization of the event try to conduct the discussions to that, but people present their research and their results, and sometimes laterally they approach that the general subject of the event. But anyway, this kind of event it's very interesting, especially because we can interact a bit with people, not only to making questions, but also at the end of the event, people in the event were divided in 3 groups to discuss some special issues like politics, like how to diminish the costs of tests in in humans, and in general. I think I don't remember exactly all the themes, but it was centered on the general theme of the event, and it was interesting because I was in a one of the 3 rooms. I remember it was led by Albert de Grey, and
By room, you mean like a virtual room, like in Zoom.
yes,
It's not like a physical room.
yes. Well, nowadays, I
Yeah.
think any place, any event is like that.
Okay. So you were in one of those groups that were divided later.
Yes,
Okay.
and I realized that when people are together in a conversation is a different dynamics than when you have a vertical conference in which one person gives a lecture and the others just listen. It's very different. It's very interesting. And well, there were during the presentations some important new things, I would say. For example, I remember. Uh,
So, just to clarify in general, so it was a online conference on Zoom or something like that, and how many speakers there were?
well, I don't remember exactly, but I think it were like 15.
15. Okay.
15. Yes.
And so each speaker would make a presentation around 15 minutes, right?
Yes. Yes.
15 minutes long presentations, and then there was questions, and
The,
in the end there was the division in groups.
yeah, but there were little time to questions.
Okay.
I mean, I think most of the presenters didn't answer questions. Some of them answered, but in the beginning. But I think the time was short.
Okay, and so what were the most interesting presentations? What did they say? What is the most interesting thing that you heard?
One presentation I was expecting a lot, that it was the Harold Catcher's presentation, and it was interesting that Harold just moved to an apartment in California, so he had some technical problems with Zoom, and he ended up losing 5 minutes of his presentation solving those problems. But I think, sorry, yes, Nina.
So I have to interrupt Nicolas every now and then because if I don't, he'll just speak forever and forever. So please, first explain who is Harold Catcher.
Okay. Sorry. Harold Catcher is a scientist who carried out a research, very interesting research, in which he was able to, according to his paper, rejuvenate rats more than 50%, according to the epigenetic clock. And the measurement was taken by Steve Horvath, who is the scientist who invented the epigenetic clock.
So the epigenetic clock is a way to determine the biological age, right? You look at the epigenome of the animal that you are studying, and looking at the epigenome, you can tell if that animal is like I don't know, if it's a human, you can tell if the person is 12 years old or 30 years old or 80 years old, right?
Yes, exactly. It has error margin of 3 years, but it's
Okay.
is fairly precise.
So Harold did those experiments in rats. They made a measurement with epigenetic clock by Steve Horvath, and they got a 50% rejuvenation.
Yes, more than 50%, in
Okay.
fact. So, but the article in which they presented those results is a preprint. Is not published in a peer review publication yet. As I understand, they are making additional tests. So, but the fact is, in that conference, Harold had 15 minutes to present it, and he lost 5 minutes with technical problems. So, and so there was no much time to explain that. But anyway, there were other important scientists in the event, such as Rodolfo Goya, is an Argentinian scientist who is making experiments with young plasma to see if it's possible to rejuvenate rats as well. Irina Comboy was there as well. She has another approach of rejuvenation, in which she and her team dilute the blood of the mice. So Liz Parrish was there too.
She also presented.
Yes, Liz Parrish presented. She said that they have very good results.
She works with stem cells, right?
Uh, in fact, as I understand, Liz Parrish works especially with gene therapy.
Oh, okay.
She applied gene therapy in herself 6 years ago, I think, 2015. And now they have many gene therapies to offer in the market, as I understand. And
Who else was there?
well, many other people. Hanadi Youssef from Juvena Therapeutics, and Josh Mitteldorf, who is a scientist and a blogger. It's important nowadays to have bloggers about rejuvenation field. It's very important that what Josh is doing in his blog. I think the event was very productive, especially for those who are relatively new in the area, because it allowed people to have the big picture of the field, because it was relatively well represented. Not totally well, but I think if for a start is it was an interesting event for new people in the area.
Okay, so you gave an overview of everyone that was present. Not everyone, but the most important ones, in your opinion. And you said in the beginning that you were very excited for Harold Katcher's presentation. So, what did he present? Did he present new data?
Well, Harold presented two slides in which he showed the difference between the controls, I mean the rats which are controls, and the treated rats, and they are old, both the controls and the treated. But he showed that the treated rats, the old treated rats, had their biomarkers close to the young controls after the treatment.
So they had three groups of rats. They had young controls, old controls, and treated rats. Is that right?
Yes, that is right. But the fact is that Harold contradicted a thesis of Irina Comboy, because she said that rejuvenation is caused in the case of her experiments because you remove something of the old plasma.
So she works with blood dilution, right? Plasma dilution.
Yes, I think she works with other things as well, but she talked about a lot about that experiment.
Okay, so she thinks that the rejuvenation that she observes in her experiments are due to the removal of something in the blood.
In the old blood.
In the blood of old individuals.
Yes. Instead, Harold thinks that if you insert something in the blood of old rats, you can rejuvenate
Okay.
them.
So instead of removing something, you have to add something.
Yes, I don't think is one thing or another thing, but there is a difference in the scientific vision, and this is interesting because they are not necessarily mutually exclusive. Excluded. So that was Harold presented that two slides in which he showed those data, but there were no real time to discuss it.
Okay, so what he showed was that if you look at the old rats, the young rats, and the old but treated rats, several biomarkers of the old treated rats were equal to the young rats, right?
Yes, yes. He showed a slide with, I don't know, I think 9 biomarkers, and all
Okay.
of them you could see the curves converging.
What kind of biomarkers?
I think it was HDL cholesterol or some, well, I can't remember. Maybe, I think some inflammation markers, some proteins, I think.
Okay, and so besides Harold's presentation and Irina's presentation, what else was interesting that was discussed, was presented?
There were several kinds of presentations. Some companies, like Juvena, Hanadi Youssef, made a presentation very, I would say, formal presentation. I mean, it's very interesting that for one side, Harold Catcher made a presentation very informal,
Informal.
very informal. He showed the view of the apartment and something like that. And Hanadi Youssef made a presentation very, very professional. But not that Harold it was unprofessional, but he's more informal. I don't know exactly the age of Hanadi, but she should be like 40 years younger than Harold. So she made a presentation with many slides and a very trained presentation. And but well, there's a problem in all the scientific conferences that people don't say exactly what is the technology. They have
Okay.
patents and
But what kind of what did she present?
well, she presented technology in which they, as I understood, they discovered in young blood, I think young blood. I'm not sure if it's in young blood, but they discovered some regenerative properties of some proteins, probably in the blood, but they are patent protected, so she can't give many details. But she presented results, I think. It's important to know what it is, but it's important as well to know what it does.
Yes. So what kind of results they presented?
I don't remember. Well, it was like 5 hours
Okay.
of event.
So what else do you remember that it's something that stuck with you?
Well, before I forget, the presentation is in YouTube. We will put the link in this podcast episode page, so people can watch.
So for example, you mentioned Liz Parrish. What kind
Yes.
of presentation she made?
Well, Liz Parrish presented. She said that she had excellent results, but she had to wait 2 years to present them. I think she didn't present them. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry, listeners, but she said that she have good results, but I don't remember. I think she didn't show it, strictly speaking.
But
Well,
she has to wait another 2 years to present
no, another 2 years. The last 2 years.
So she has been waiting for 2 years to
Yes.
present results.
Yes,
And
that
she still can't present them.
yes, I'm not sure if she still can't present them, but well, it was a short presentation from each of them.
So what I'm getting is that the good thing about this conference is that you could get a general overview of a lot of important actors in the rejuvenation area, right?
Yes, because I think the organizers, I remember that Didier Cornell was one of the main organizers and presenters, and he is from Heales, and Ilya Stambler was another presenter. He's from International Longevity Alliance.
He was a presenter or was he a host?
A host, sorry.
Okay.
Didier and Ilya were hosts, and there were another host. But the fact is that the organizers are not necessarily focusing on some company or some specific technology. They try to make a broad spectrum of the rejuvenation field. So my point is the event was good to have an initial contact with the rejuvenation field, and there were technical subjects, but sometimes, well, if you don't understand the details and the information, you can at least have a general picture of the field. And you can see that there are very relevant scientists who are trying to rejuvenate people, and that's real. There are companies trying to make tests in humans or making tests in humans. So it's important that we understand that this area has a potential to save more lives than any other area of medicine. So it's important for new people to contribute in some way.
So you said the conference had a theme about human and mice or rat trials. Did any of the speakers presented data on human trials?
Human. Well, I think Greg Fahey.
Faye.
Yes, Greg Fahey. He made tests in humans, but I'm not sure if he presented the results. But I think he presented the results. Yes, he mentioned that they rejuvenated, according to the epigenetic clock, 2.5 years. But he's doing another experiment very important because he's expanding the cohort, the quantity of people.
But what kind of rejuvenation technology is he studying?
Well, Greg made an experiment some years ago with three compounds. One is, I think, growth or hormone, and the other is metformin, and the other is another hormone. I think used in diabetes, but I'm not sure exactly
Use
what
it
it
as
is.
as a treatment for diabetes.
Yes, yes, and the three were applied to 9 men, and they rejuvenated 2.5 years according to the epigenetic clock.
But because you said it was like one of them was a diabetes medicine.
Metformin, yes, and the other, I think the other it was as well, but I'm not sure about the other.
Okay, but was this treatment related to diabetes? Like they were trying to cure diabetes?
No, it was a rejuvenate. In fact, I think
But-
the aim of this. Sorry, yes.
But why would someone give a diabetes medicine to someone who isn't diabetic?
Because the growth hormone can have deleterious effects regarding diabetes. So
Okay.
you have to apply together other drugs that compensate the effect of growth hormone.
Okay,
So-
so actually the treatment is giving growth hormone to people. And then you have also to give something else just to make sure they don't get ill because of that.
Yeah, because I think the goal of Greg was to regrow the thymus, that is very important for the immune system. So that was the way to rejuvenate people rejuvenating their immune
Okay,
system.
so the thymus is a organ that when we are born, it works perfectly, and then it starts to shrink, right? And then when you are older, you don't have a thymus anymore.
Yeah, yes, or your thymus is very small. Let's say it's almost all fat. But
Okay.
yes, the goal was, as I understand, to regrow the thymus. So Greg presented the results and he announced that they're expanding to, I think, 100 people.
Wow.
Yeah, including women and another other categories of uh, people in order the study be more diverse.
Okay. Yeah, because I know that there's a big problem in the pharmaceutical industry that a lot of drugs aren't tested in women because they say like, well, depending on what time, what part of your period you are, you may have like different symptoms or different results, or if you are pregnant or something like that. But women are about half of the population. I think a bit more than half. So it's very important to also
Yes, but
test on women.
yes, I had the impression that the first test with 9 men, it weren't exactly on purpose in the sense that it's only we need only men. No, but I think I heard that they made like an event, and on that event, the some guys were interested in participating. So it was not intentional. So
Yeah, but it's just 9 people. It's okay if you don't test like on women if it's just 9 people. But if it's 100 people, I think it's important.
no, especially because the first test worked,
Was successful.
was successful. So you have to make things in a more organized way.
So in the conference, you said that after all the speakers made their presentation, people were divided in groups, right? And you participated in one of those groups.
Yes,
So there was a discussion.
yes,
And do you have anything to report about that?
yes. I think people said that. I remember Daria Kauturina.
Who
Um,
is she?
Daria she's Russian and she works as an advocate of the rejuvenation and longevity therapies regarding governments and international organizations in a global level like United Nations. And she's from the International Longevity Alliance. And I think she mentioned the high costs of the clinical trials.
Yeah.
So maybe that they could be carried out with a fraction of the cost. So
But did she make a proposition of how to do that?
I don't remember. Maybe to carry out the test in other countries, but no, I don't remember exactly what specifically she suggested. But I remember she mentioned that problem. I asked Aubrey de Grey, who was coordinating the discussion, because I asked if he still thought that medicine should be allowed to be marketed after phase 2 clinical trials, as he wrote in End in Aging.
So if a new drug should be released to the market before phase 3.
Yeah, because nowadays you need phase 3, but in the book End in Aging, which he wrote in 2007, he said that it would be good if medicines were allowed to be marketed after safety was assessed, not necessarily the efficiency. So after phase two, but when I asked him, he said that nowadays he think is not so simple as he thought in 2007. So he says that a better idea would be to make a progression in the sense that after phase two, if you release the medicine to the market, you have to make a big control. So if you have a big control in that uh, phase three, but marketing the product, you could be allowed. But reset is not so simple, like simply allowing the medicines to be marketed after phase two. Maybe a mixed system. I remember that another person, I can't remember the name, but she said that more events like that would be necessary because there are not so much events with discussions like that. I
Okay.
think her name is Patricia, but I can't remember the surname.
Okay.
And it was very interesting comment because it's true. There are no many events in which people can discuss in so broadly terms. And well, I hope that there are more like that. I want to congratulate the two entities, International Longevity Alliance and Heals.
So, how can you summarize the what you heard, what you saw in that conference?
I think it's a good event to present to new people in the field, to have a big picture of the rejuvenation field, and I think that it was interesting the discussions at the end. This was an important part, and I hope there are more often this kind of event. In fact,
What was the highlight, like the thing that you think was the most interesting thing that you saw in that conference?
well, the fact is that nowadays there is a very hot topic in the rejuvenation field, a very new topic about treatments with young plasma, and the data from Harold Catcher, including the epigenetic age, are incredible. Many people say that is too good to be true. So we are waiting for confirmatory data. I mean, Harold said they will perform testing in dogs and monkeys. In another interview, he said that. So, on the other hand, we have Irina Comboy's experiment as well with blood dilution. So, there is that hot topic, that discussion about if remove things of old blood cause rejuvenation, or if putting things from young blood in old animals could rejuvenate them. So this
Okay.
is the hot topic right now, I think.
Okay. Great. I think we had a good discussion. You reported everything you saw on that conference. Do you have anything to add?
Yes, as I said, there is the link of the YouTube video with the whole event. So
It's 5 hours long, right?
yes, but I think the 5 hours included the discussions, and the discussion, I think they are not in the YouTube video.
Oh, okay.
So it's less than that, maybe 3 hours. But in YouTube you can stop when you want. You can go to the interview you prefer. So it's very
Yeah.
very useful.
You can listen while you wash your dishes and things like that.
Yes, you drive to your workplace, but nowadays hardly
Nobody.
anybody ha- drives to the workplace. So.
Okay. So thank you all for listening. Again, I'm Nina and
Nicholas,
this is Nicholas. If you have questions or suggestions, we have an email. It's immortalicast@gmail.com. We also have a Patreon page to help to pay the costs of this podcast. So it's patreon.com/immortalicast. Also, you can spread the word about this podcast to other people who might be interested. And we're thinking about doing episodes in which we discuss something new that came up in the rejuvenation or the longevity area. And maybe also have some guests in the future. And we will make episodes also in Spanish and Portuguese.
Yes, so we are based in Brazil nowadays, and we translated, edited, and published some books in the rejuvenation field, such as Ending Aging by Álvaro de Grey in Portuguese, and The Abolition of Aging by David Wood in Portuguese as well. And we translated a book from Spanish into Portuguese from the rejuvenation field called La Muerte de la Muerte by José Cordero and David Wood. All those books you can find in our website, ntzplural.com, if you want to take a look in those books.
And also in our website, we have a page about this podcast, and there you can see the links that we mentioned. So go to ntzplural.com/immortalicast to see the links.
Yes, the link of the conference. Yes.
And I don't know, anything else that we might think it's relevant to this episode, we might put there also.
Okay, so we would like to thank everybody for listening to us, and we will try to make that discussions and informative episodes for you, and let's go towards the future.
And if you have anything you want to tell us, please send an email. And let's end aging or die trying.
Okay, so this is Immortalicast.
Bye bye.